From this moment on, you will now be known as Sharkbait.
Sharkbait, ooh-ha-ha!
Welcome, brother Sharkbait.
Sharkbait, ooh-ha-ha!
Enough of the Sharkbait.
Sharkbait, ooh, well,
Hey, what's up everybody? This is D from Brooklyn, checking in with today's Sunday swim. And I'm going to talk about something that we'll all run into at some time or another. And it makes for a very good topic of discussion. Effects on the reef. Generally from changing what you use in your tank. And if any of you have seen any of my previous videos, you will notice that many of the corals are not open as they usually are, really full and filling the space. And this is about an hour or 2 hours really after my daylights have cut on, which is usually completely full. You'll see some of the waving xenia over there are barely open but mainly closed. And even if you look at the pulsing xenia here, you'll see them pulsing, but they're really closed up here. And that is because I did something that you'll probably run into or experience at one time or another. I changed the salts that I used for my tank. And in changing salts, you have to take under consideration that many salts that you use to mix your water are composed of, oops, sorry, I almost dropped the camera. But they're composed of very different elements and chemical levels in their mix, and that can have an immediate impact on your reef tank. Now, what I was using for a long time was Red Sea Coral Pro Salt. I know you guys have seen a lot of videos where I use Instant Ocean, but I was trying this Red Sea Pro Salt, which is very, very good salt. It is known for having good stability in its mixture as far as the elements that you use for your tank, as far as the magnesium level. Let me focus here. All right, there we go. And the elemental needs that you use in your tank as far as alkalinity, stable pH, calcium mix. If you look here, you'll see that the alkalinity level is very high in the mix. When you mix it as I do, I keep mine at about 35 to 36 parts per thousand in the tank, and I keep it at that 8.2 pH for this tank, a little bit lower. I've been raising it because it's been usually around 8, and I've raised it to 8.2, which actually also has a direct impact on the tank. But the reason I mention this is because a lot of us don't know why we use what we use, and then when there are certain impacts on the tank, we kind of get thrown off. I knew that there would be an impact in going from the Instant Ocean to this salt, and I've used this salt for a long time. And what happened recently is my bucket ran out. pretty short and to the point. My bucket ran out, and it's not that easy to find that brand of salt locally. A lot of these stores carry the Instant Ocean, which is A, more affordable, and B, carried by most of the stores here. So as I sit the camera down, I'll use my pointer here. You'll see that most of these salts have the same amount of alkalinity. Actually, most of the salts are made to keep our tank calcium at 400 to 420. This salt has a very high alkalinity. Alkalinity here, as you can see, was in the, if I can focus here, it's hard with the lights from the tank plus the room lights dim. All right, there we go. We'll use the tank lights. The alkalinity here is geared around 12, which is really high. Usually your tank's alkalinity will be between 8 and 9, with most people's alkalinity being lower than that, which makes them have to dose. So in changing from this salt to the Instant Ocean salt, and I'll get a picture of those and add it here. The Instant Ocean alkalinity is quite lower, as well as for the parts per thousand that I use, the 35, the calcium is actually higher, which has had a direct impact on the corals. The corals are very, very susceptible to changes in the water chemistry, and you can see they have closed up a bit. Some corals have taken to this, like the Pavona, which are more alkalinity, and they use a lot more calcium, which makes them very happy. Frog spawn, another one, very, very happy. But when you get into coral like the zoanthids and the zinnias especially are very, very delicate as far as water changes. They're very susceptible to changes in the water chemistry. The candy canes also very happy, but then you see the zoas I have over here have taken an impact. Now that doesn't mean that they're bad off or that they're dying. That just means that they're waiting or adjusting to the new chemistry, which I've so abruptly changed on them. So now I'm going to sit the camera down here, and I'm going to point out one thing. If I can zoom in here, hold on a second. Okay. Getting used to using the tripod here that doesn't squeak. No, you guys are like, Dave, your tripod is squeaking like an old lady in a grocery store pushing a cart. But if you look right here, now that my hands are free, if you look right here, you'll see that the corals are brightening up, but they're closed up. Like these are closed up, the Kenya trees are closed up. Even if you look at the coralline, if I turn this a little bit, coralline is increased in growth. And if you look right here, we've got encrusting Pavona from this one up here, way up there. There was a piece from when that was on the rock a long time ago. And increasing the parameters, I've actually encouraged it to take off. So that is a benefit, but you have to be very careful when changing salts or any chemical makeup in your water, or you will experience that. So I thought that was a good topic for today's Sunday swim, that it's not a bad thing. Don't panic. People panic when they see things like that in their tank, and they get all bent up and they start adding chemicals, which is probably the absolute no-no. You don't want to add chemicals. At the very least, you want to try to slowly bring your chemistry into balance and maybe get closer to what your last parameters were by testing your alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium, and getting it back into sync. See over here, a lot of algae growth. That's because I've increased the nutrients and I've increased the calcium. I've increased everything in the tank suddenly. Now, if you notice over here, these zoas are doing very well. That's because this is probably the area of absolute slowest growth. Over there, I've got a crap load of algae, but I always kept algae over there. I just didn't like the look of that Pavona sitting on a bare rock. So you notice over here, there's no algae. That's because the water's flowing over here. Over here is dead spot, and I keep it like that. In nature, you have algae. What are you going to do? That's the way nature is. But that is the topic of the Sunday swim. And before I cut out, I'll put a picture here so that you can compare the salt levels and chemical levels of both of the salts that I use. But I'm going to end on this note, and I'll leave you with that. So the message here in this video is, don't be quick to dose, don't be quick to panic, don't jump to conclusions. Take your time and look at the little things. Corals are more resilient than we give them credit. You have to be patient with any and every reef tank. It takes time. Nothing happens suddenly. There's always a reason. Bad things do happen quickly though, but it just takes time and patience, and you look at them. And I'll end this video with a shot of the latest frag of a Pavona that I put on this dead torch coral skeleton I got from the main tank. And with that being said, this is D signing out. Take a look. I'll end the video with a comparison of the salt mix chemistry, and I'm out. Alright, click the subscribe button. I appreciate your comments. If you have any questions, leave them below. I'll try to answer them as best I can. And for that, I'm going to say, see ya, see ya, see ya. Tank on, everybody.